All right, so in this demo, I want to show you how you can automate the build, test, and deploy of a Spring Boot application using a CI/CD pipeline, specifically GitLab CI/CD, and deploying to an Apache Tomcat server. So first, I just want to show off the application running locally. So if I do cint is even, then /s maven spring-boot run. This will start running my application locally. I can load it up in my web browser. So this is just the main page, but what it is an API that tells you if a number you input is even or not. So it says check out the API endpoint get /API slash is even equals 2. And if you just put this in your right here, it says true. So it says 2 is even. Let's say if I do 3, it'll tell me false. 4 is even. 5 is false, and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the application. It's pretty simple, but I just want to show use it as an example. I also want to show I do have some tests written out for this application. So if I go into the source test, um, I have a basic unit test written out that just tests the function is even for a bunch of different numbers. So it says make sure that 0 it evaluates to true, 1 evaluates to false, it's not even, and so on and so forth, just as a basic sniff test to make sure it's working properly. So I'm gonna stop the server for now, and I'm gonna go and show you what it looks like to actually write out a CI/CD pipeline. So I make this a little smaller. So your CI in GitLab, your CI/CD pipeline is defined in this file right here called at the root of your project called .gitlab-ci.yaml, and it's a YAML file. So it's very similar looking to JSON. So your CI/CD pipeline is split up into stages. So I have 2 stages. I have build and test. So this is your continuous integration, and deploy, which is your continuous deployment. And then each stage can be split up into multiple jobs, but for each one I have a single job. So I have a single job for the build and test, and the rest of it's a single job for the deploy. So I'll start with the build and test job. So first you specify an image. This is actually a Docker image. So it'll come installed with Maven, which I want to use to do the build and test. I specify the stages in, build and test, and here's the actual script that it will run. So it'll change directory into my Spring Boot application. Then it'll run maven clean install. And so that'll run my build and it'll also run my tests. And if the tests fail, it'll fail out of it, and it'll let me know in my CI/CD pipeline. This next part where it says artifacts, so it'll actually export out the WAR file that it builds, and it'll make it accessible from all of the future stages in the pipeline. So I want my deploy stage to be able to use this WAR file, so I need to export it out with this artifacts thing. Excuse me. So next, go into the deploy job. So it's deploy to Tomcat. It's using an image that's Alpine Linux with curl installed. It's in the stage deploy. And I have a rule set up. So this rule will say if the commit branch is main, then run it. Otherwise, it won't run. So let's say if a developer's on the development branch or on a feature branch and they make some changes, it won't actually deploy it. It'll only deploy it on the main branch. So in effect, if you combine this with protected branches, it makes it so that you can only do a deployment if you go through code review and a merge request, which is good because you don't want developers to be able to do deployments whenever without any review or oversight. This next part is where I extract out the secrets from HashiCorp Vault. So what HashiCorp Vault is, I can show you. It's a secrets management solution. So this is what it looks like in a web browser. So I can store like my credentials for Tomcat. So I need to authenticate with my Tomcat server, which I have running up right here. Here's the Tomcat server. I don't have anything deployed right now, but I need to authenticate with it to deploy the WAR file to it. So I need to store the username and password somewhere. You could store the username and password in the Git repository itself, but that's a terrible security posture. Um, It's more recommended to use a dedicated secrets management solution like HashiCorp Vault, which is a centralized server for storing all of your secrets. So you can see here under Tomcat, I have password and user, and if I actually see them, like these are the actual values that I've configured on my Tomcat server for the username and password to handle the deployments. So um, this part right here is just telling GitLab to pull it from HashiCorp Vault. There was a good deal of configuration I had to set up on the HashiCorp Vault side, which I'm not showing here. The one part I will show is that on this bound claims section of the configuration, you can specify a project ID and a branch. So you could specify like, oh, you could specify maybe a certain secret's limited to a certain project, and even within that project, it's only limited to the main branch. So even a developer tries to have their pipeline on a development branch pull your production secret, it won't be able to because HashiCorp Vault is enforcing it on its side. So this combined with protected branches makes sure that um, there's no deployments to production without oversight because you lock down the access to your secrets for production. Now this last part in the script is the part that actually in my the last part of my CI/CD pipeline is the part that actually deploys it to Tomcat. I got to do a little bit of data wrangling to put the username and password into environment variables. Then this last command is the actual one that does it. So it's just a curl request. It'll upload the WAR file. Let me get that properly. So it'll upload the WAR file that it built in the last stage. It sets the username and password that it got pulled from HashiCorp Vault, and then the rest of it's just the API endpoint to push it to. So this is my Tomcat server I spun up just for this. So yeah, now I'll show an actual demonstration of the pipeline working. So the first demo I'm going to do is actually to make some breaking changes and show it failing the test and that showing up on GitLab. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to branch. I'm going to say git branch, let's say feature, and git checkout feature. There we go. Now I'm on my feature branch, and let's say I go into my source code and I change the is even function. So this is the function it uses to determine if a number is even. It just does modulus by 2 and sees if it's equal to 0. Let's make it incorrect. So I'm going to change it to 1. This is not going to work, and it's going to make sure it's going to fail my unit tests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it up to GitLab. So I'm going to say git add -a, git commit -m, breaking the is even function, and git push set upstream origin feature. There we go. So now I'm going to go check out the code within GitLab. So go to even, then I want to go to my branch, the feature branch. Here's the pipeline running. You can see it only does the build. This is what the pipeline looks like. So you'll have your stages here, and this is your build and test stage, and within them you have the jobs. There isn't a deploy stage because this isn't on the master branch. So let me check it out. It actually gives me the command line output of the build and test, so I can actually watch it as it goes. Just give it a second to load up. And here we go. So it gave me a failure. Let's see. Yeah, test is even function, failure. It gave me an assertion failure. So it says test runs, 2, 1 failure, build failure. And then if I go back to the pipeline itself, I refresh, it gives me an X because it failed. Okay, so now I'm gonna go fix that, and then I'm gonna push the changes up, and I'm gonna do a merge request into main and show the actual deployment, the CD part of the pipeline. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a change to here. I'm gonna say I made some changes. Oh, let me fix that. I made some changes just to show that I changed something. then I want to say, let me make sure this is changed back. Yep, it's equal to 0. So git add a git commit some fixing my error, and git push. I have this already. There I'm doing my git push. So now I'm going to go back to GitLab and check it out. So go to my feature branch, and this latest commit, it set off a new pipeline run. And here it is. So let's check it out. Let's check out the job, see what the output's going to be. And there we go. So it looks like it finished, and it gave me a success for the build. So I think all the tests passed, so there's no issues here. If I go back to the pipeline, I refresh. Now it says pass. It gives me a green check mark, so it's very obvious that all of the tests passed. Now I'm going to do a merge request into main and show the deployment. So if I say create merge request, I'm going to say made some changes. I'll assign it to myself and create merge request. There we go. So now there's the merge request, and actually shows me that the pipeline passed. So when you do code review, you're gonna go through and check your changes, make sure the code looks right. It'll also show you the results of the build and tests. So if a developer's trying to push through code that's broken and doesn't pass your unit test, it'll let you know right in your merge request during code review, which is very handy. So I'm not going to go through approval. I'm just going to merge it. There we go. And now let me go back to my repository. Actually, it says right here. So yeah, so I merged it just now, and then this new pipeline is running because of the merge to main. So if I check this one out. Here it has build-in tests. It's going to build and test again, and then it has the deploy pipeline. So I'll give it a sec. So the deploy pipeline is going to wait for the build-in tests. Okay, now it's running. You can see here, this part says, let me scroll up. This part right here says resolving secrets, so it was able to pull the Tomcat username and password from HashiCorp Vault. If I scroll down, here's the actual curl command, and it looks like it succeeded. The curl command succeeded. If I go back to my pipeline and I refresh, it says the pipeline status passed. So it passed the build, it also passed the deploy. So now I'm going to go check out Tomcat. Before there wasn't anything deployed at the just slash path, so I refresh. Here it is. I open that up and here it is. Here's my application deployed to the Tomcat server. And here you can see I made some changes, and my pipeline did the build and deploy for me. I never actually built this myself. It all handled it for me. Let me just do a sniff test. Let me check the API endpoint, make sure it looks all right. So 2 is even, 3 is false, 4 is true, and so on. So this looks pretty good. And so that's about it for this demo.